In this tutorial, I will explain how AwareIM handles access control and data protection. Access control and data protection are implemented by two mechanisms in AwareIM called access levels and protection rules. Let's talk about access levels first. Access levels roughly correspond to user roles. For each access level or role, you can define access restrictions. That is, you can limit access to business objects, attributes, queries, processes, and other elements in AwareIM. By default, AwareIM creates two access levels, administrator and guest, but you can add as many access levels as you like. The administrator access level has no restrictions by default. It can access any element in the system. We will talk about the guest access level a little later in this tutorial. Let's look at an example of access levels. Let's recall our banking application from the relationship tutorial, where the application manages customers and their accounts. Our account object has the state attribute. Let's assume that in our application we will have three access levels besides guest: administrator, operator, and customer. Our administrators should be able to access and change anything they like. Operators will only have a read-only access to the state attribute, and customers will have no access to the state attribute at all. They will not even see this attribute. We already have the administrator access level created by AwareIM by default. Let's define the operator and customer access levels. So I create a new access level, give it a name, operator, and then I have to select an element for which I will define my restrictions. Since we need to define access restrictions to the state attribute of the account business object, I select business objects first, and AwareIM displays a list of all business objects that I have in my application. To start defining access restrictions, I need to select the Restrictions Apply as per table below radio button, and then click on the Access button next to the account business object. The dialog then shows all the attributes of the account business object, and I select the Restrictions Apply as per table below button again. Now I click on the cell in the Access column to define my access level restrictions. Several values are available. We are only interested in the full access, read-only, and not available values. The other two have been superseded by the protection rules, so we will ignore them. So operators will have read-only access to the state attribute, so we select read-only. Let's now define the customer access level. So we'll do very much the same things here. But this time we select not available as access level for the state attribute. Now we need to log into the system as users with different access levels and test how this works. I will explain the login process in AwareIM in more detail. There is a special business object group in AwareIM called System User. When a user logs into an AwareIM system, AwareIM searches the database for instances of any business object that is a member of the System User group, and then check the values of the credentials. When it finds an instance that matches the entered credentials, this instance is considered to be the logged-in user. This means that a business object that represents a user must be a member of the System User group and must have certain predefined attributes such as login name and password. By default, AwareIM creates such business object automatically. It is called the regular user, and it is a member of the System User group. It has a number of predefined attributes, login name, password, access level, and a few others. In fact, all members of the system user group must have these predefined attributes. When you add a member to this group, AwareIM will automatically add these required attributes. The attribute that we're particularly interested in is access level. The value of this attribute defines the access level of the logged-in user. When AwareIM finds a match of credentials, it looks at the value of the access level attribute of the matched instance and considers it to be the access level of the user. So the value of this attribute is very important. You can see that our regular user object has an initial value of administrator for this attribute. When the system is first initialized, a single instance of the administrator is created. This is the instance that initially has admin and password credentials. The administrator can create other regular user instances and set the value of its access level explicitly. Let's do just this. Log in as administrator and create an operator for our system. Before I can test the application though, I need to make sure that we have visual perspective for each access level defined. For more details about visual perspectives, please watch the Visual Perspectives tutorial. In our application, I will have the same visual perspective for all access levels. Now I'm ready to test the system. So I log in as administrator using default credentials, admin and password. And now I can create a new instance of the regular user object. As you can see, AwareIM automatically sets up a combo box with all available access levels in our system. I will create a user with the name John and password John and select an operator as the access level of this user. Let's now log out and log in as this user. You can see now I'm specifying John as the login name. And now I should be logged in as operator. Let's try to create an account object. When AwareIM displays the form of this object, I can see that the state attribute is disabled. I can change the balance attribute, but I cannot change the state attribute. Let's now look at the custom access level. We already have the custom object, and we want this object to be able to log into the system with a custom access level, not the regular user object. All we have to do is add the custom object to the system user business object group. Note that as soon as I do this, AwareIM automatically adds a number of required attributes to the custom object, including login name, password, and access level. We want all customers to have the custom access level, and we don't want anyone to be able to change this. So we set the initial value of the access level attribute to customer. And we make sure that access level attribute is not even present on the form, so that no one can change its initial value. Well, if we look at the form, the attribute is not there, but we have to add the login name and password attributes so that they can be entered by the administrator. Let's now log in as administrator and create a customer instance. So we log in again. And create a new customer. We do not have to specify access level explicitly. Because it was set by the initial value. Let's now log out and log in as this customer. Now I'm logged in as a customer. When I create a new account, I can see that the state attribute is not even on the form. AwareIM has automatically removed it. Now a few words about the guest access level. The guest access level represents users that do not need to log into the system. There is a special URL that allows access to the system by guests without having to log in. By default, this access level has no access to anything, so guests cannot do much. If you want your application to support guest access level, you need to allow access to those elements of the system that you want guests to see. Although powerful, access levels have limitations. Using access levels, it's not possible to specify access restrictions based on attribute values. For example, if we wanted, let's say, customers with big account balances to have access to more attributes than customers with smaller balances, we wouldn't be able to do this with access levels alone. Restricting access based on attribute values can be achieved by protection rules. Protection rules are business rules that use the protect or read protect actions. For more details about business rules, watch the business rules tutorial. The protect action allows read-only access to business objects or attributes. The user can see but not modify objects or attributes. The read protect action disallows any access to an object or attribute and makes it invisible in the system. The advantage of using these rules compared to access levels is that you can specify conditions of protection. Only when the condition holds will the object or attribute be protected. Another advantage is that when an object or attribute is read protected, AwareIM will not only automatically remove it from all forms, but it will also automatically remove it from all query results. In a way, the protection rules work as an additional filter in the system. With a single protection rule, you can achieve really dramatic results. And of course, because protection rules are business rules, you have to attach them to some business object, the one access to which you are limiting. Let's look at an example. In our banking system, we now allow customers to log in. Let's assume that each customer belongs to a particular region. I have added the region attribute to the customer object. We will allow customers to look at the details of other customers, but only if other customers belong to the same region as the logged-in customer. Also, we will not allow customers to change details of other customers, only their own. We can achieve this by adding two simple protection rules. The first protection rule will protect the entire customer if the customer being viewed is different from the logged-in customer. Obviously, the protection rule will be attached to the customer object. Let's add the first rule to the customer object. I'll just paste the text of the rule here. So if customer is not equal the logged-in customer, then protect customer from customer. This will protect all attributes of the customer object. The syntax of the protect action allows you to explicitly specify access levels of the users for which protection will apply. In this case, the from clause indicates that the rule is only relevant for the customer access level, but not other levels, and it's a bit superfluous in this particular case. Still, we need to specify it. Let's now add the second rule about the regions. Again, I will paste the code of the rule. So if the current customer is not the same as the logged-in customer, and the region of the current customer is not equal to the region of the logged-in customer, then the current customer will not be visible to the logged-in customer. We have allowed customers to see details of other customers, but we do not want them to see their balances. So let's add a rule to the account object that protects its balance if the customer of the account is not the same as the logged-in customer. So I add this rule to the account object. And paste the rule again. So if the customer of the account is not the logged-in customer, then we will read protect balance for the customer access level. So in this tutorial, I have shown you how AwareIAM implements access control and data protection. For more details, please refer to the user guide.